Hey everybody, welcome back to Code with Vinny. Today I'm going to be showing you how to host a website on AWS S3. By the end of this tutorial, you will have a fully functioning static website hosted on AWS, and it should be absolutely free. The service that we're going to be using today, S3, is extremely inexpensive and has a very generous free tier, so you shouldn't have to worry about any expenses. But before we get started, it's important to know that S3 can only host static websites. That means that your site must be made of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It cannot run any server-side code like PHP, Python, or databases. Some examples of static websites would be simple blogs, portfolios, or landing pages. Dynamic websites would be anything with user logins, databases, or real-time updates. If you need those for your application, there's better services that you can use, like AWS Lambda, EC2, or even AWS Amplify. Now that we understand the capabilities of S3 hosting, let's get right into it. Now, like I mentioned, the service we're going to be using today is S3, or Simple Storage Service. S3 is a cloud storage service that allows you to store and retrieve files anywhere on the internet. S3 is one of AWS's most popular services, so it's really good for you to know. And in my opinion, it happens to be one of the more simple services, so that's also good for us. Now let's head over to AWS. So after you log into the AWS console, you're just going to go to the top and search for S3. And we're just going to go ahead and create a bucket. So it's asking for us to name our bucket now, and it's important to know that bucket names must be globally unique. So you might have to be a little specific with this, but I'm just going to go ahead and call this Vinny's S3 website tutorial. And we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and we can see this block public access settings for this bucket. We're going to go ahead and uncheck that, and we get a little bit of a warning right here. Whenever we allow public access to our resources, there's a little bit of risk involved, but we're just going to go ahead and acknowledge that and create our bucket. So I'm going to go to this bucket that I just created, and we're just going to have to make a couple quick changes. So go ahead over to properties, and we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom to static website hosting, and we're going to click edit and enable that. So as you can see, it's asking us for our index document. So in our case, it's just going to be our index.html like it's suggesting. And we're also going to have an error.html file. And I'm going to have a GitHub repo in the link below, so you guys can just steal all that code if you guys want to follow along. So now we have static website hosting enabled. So if we scroll down to the bottom, open this link, we get a 403 forbidden. So we need to make sure that our bucket has the right permissions. So let's go ahead and do that real fast. So we just need to add a policy to our bucket, so we can go to bucket policy and hit edit. And I'm just going to paste in this policy that I have ready. This will also be in the GitHub repo below if you want to steal this. And if we just look over this policy real quick, and at the top we have a version, we don't really need to worry about that. We have an SID or a statement ID, and it's just a label to help you identify this rule, and it's actually optional. The next key that we have in our policy is called effect, and this is basically stating if our policy is going to allow or deny privileges. We want to allow privileges. Principal is asking us who we're granting privileges to, and because we have a star here, this is like a wildcard. This is saying we're granting privileges to everybody. Action is asking us what specific privileges we want to grant, and in this case we want to allow users to get objects from our S3 bucket. And the last key that we have here is resource, and this is basically asking us what AWS resource do we want our users to be able to get objects from. And so we're going to point to the bucket that we just created. So instead of your name here, I'm going to add Vinny's S3 website tutorial. And if you look right here, we have a /star. That's basically saying we're giving access to every item inside of this bucket right here. So we are allowing all users to get items from our bucket. So let's go ahead and save these changes. Now let's actually go and add files to our bucket. So go to objects, and we can just hit upload, then add files. And I'm just going to upload these 4 files. All these files will be linked in the GitHub description below. So I'm just going to hit open. And let's go ahead and upload those. So you notice I added a error.html and an index.html. So if we go back to our bucket and go to properties and go back to that bucket website endpoint, we have successfully hosted a static website using S3. And if we want to check that the error.html file is working as well, we can just go up here and just do a route that we don't have, so like /Vinny. And you can see we get a 404 page not found. This is the error.html that I uploaded. So perfect, everything's working just as expected. So now I'm just going to show you how to delete your bucket if you want to. So I'm just going to go in here, check all of the items, and delete them from our bucket. And it makes us confirm. Now we have to delete all of the items in our bucket before we can actually delete the bucket itself. So let me go back to the bucket now that it's empty. And we actually have to go back to our list of all of our buckets. So if we go here, I can just select the bucket I want to delete, Vinny's website tutorial, and hit delete. Same thing, it wants a confirmation. And delete bucket. So that's about all you need to know about hosting static websites using S3. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.